solid like 3 to 4 weeks to like really digest. Like, holy shit, that actually happened 4 plays into his career.
I would say, like, and I'm a Yankee fan, and I went to school up in Boston, and, you know, I was at Game 7 in '04, and that was probably the most crushing sports event that I've ever been at. But in terms of the shock and devastation, and I'm now 43 years old, and I'm married with 2 kids, and it shouldn't have hurt me the way it did. But the sucker punch with Rodgers was almost beyond what you could have even imagined as a worst case scenario. And I'm with you, and I think a lot of Jets fans were like this. Like, it was a hard thing to process because it was so. Again, it didn't make sense. How could that happen? How could we have so much excitement? How could this feel like the year? How could he run out of the tunnel with the American flag, and then that happens 4 plays into the season? And I remember, like, I think like I do like 5 shows a week for Around the NFL for NFL.com. And at one point, it was like a behind-the-scenes thing. I think I snapped at one of my colleagues, and like afterwards, we were walking up the steps back to the parking lot. I apologized to him, and I'm like, man, I don't even like telling people this, but like I'm in a funk. I was like, it really kind of hit me in a way that it took a while to process. And yes, you get through the stages of grief. And I think what feels different, Joe, in '99 when Vinny popped his Achilles. You know, they lost that game to the Patriots in the last second, and somehow they beat the Bills that week. And then this past week, they beat the Eagles in an unlikely way. And I don't want to get back on the optimism train because I don't want to be hurt again, because I felt like fundamentally I was changed as a fan by the Rodgers injury. But maybe I haven't been, and maybe that's just the way of a sports fan. Like, you can't help yourself. You are what you are. I'm in, baby.
I mean, that as that injury happened in the days after, it was almost like – the way I was getting text messages and people reaching out that I hadn't talked to in years, it was almost like a family member had passed away. Like, people I hadn't seen since college, just like millions of text messages. Like, are you okay? I can't believe this. And I kind of hit this too. It's like, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
No.
I haven't even processed that it happened. And I was in the stadium, and to see the life sucked out, because as soon as he sat down, the entire stadium knew he was out for the year. And then the elation at the win, it was as loud as I've heard the stadium really since like the Rex years.
Joe,
it's been crazy.
Joe, for our podcast, we do a Monday night recap right where I'm sitting now. I just go downstairs and I do it. And that was honestly, like, I've never gotten more feedback from people, because I was, like you're saying, I was getting all the texts just like you were from people, like, just checking in, how you're doing. And it was actually, it helped to, like, for me on that show, and people were sent a lot of positive things, which was very nice to hear. Like, hey man, that was raw, and that was coming from a real place, because it did teach me a little something, because I have 2 young boys and that are just getting into football. And when Gibson ran that punt back, we're like celebrating on the couch, jumping up and down with my puppy is going nuts too. My wife's there. She's all invested into the team because of Hard Knocks. And it was like this great moment. It was just a reminder of like the power of sports, and that you do have to keep moving. And there's some type of life metaphor in there as well. So that's kind of what this Jets season is about, all while this weird Rodgers thing is going on in the background, where he's trying to make history and is recover from the Achilles. And I don't know how to even my brain is not processing that situation either, to be honest with you.
Let's quickly touch on that, and then we can talk about the current team. I'm sure, like you, have gotten a ton of questions about this Rodgers recovery this week. He's recording a documentary. He's around the field every week. It seems like he is radically ahead. Who knows where and how he got treatment with alternative medicine. I'm trying to be rational about this. I think the Jets will probably leak, or he'll leak in late December, that, hey, if we make the playoffs and win a couple games, it could happen. But is he actually like going to come back this year? I really don't think so. But in my head, 8-8 Jets going to New England to play the tanking Patriots, win-in scenario. Rodgers is pushing to come back. It almost feels like written out too well. It feels medically impossible that he would suit up again in the regular season, or even candidly in the first round of the playoffs. But I don't know, with science and medicine these days, like, he seems to be like way ahead. I can't believe we're even talking about this right now. I actually don't know how to process that either.
Yeah, and I think Costello wrote something this week. He spoke to some doctors and was like, hey, just a heads up. pretty risky if you're really going to ramp this thing up and then because we're all Achilles experts now, and my own father, who's turning 70 this week, he tore his Achilles right in front of me this summer in Texas. So like it's a devastating injury for whatever age you are, but at age 40, there's the thing that I learned recently is that if you push it too hard, you could like permanently stretch the Achilles, and then the recovery becomes something that you don't get all the way back from. So there are definitely risks here, and Rodgers, as much as he's been up into the injury, it was kind of a love fest and everything was perfect. The Aaron Rodgers post-injury where he's doing the McAfee show, and like you said, he's got the documentary going on, and he's trying to start little beefs with Travis Kelce about vaccinations, and there's some of that other stuff that kind of annoyed you before he was a Jets that's on that fringes, and I'm not saying it's his body, it's his prerogative, and it's not a distraction to the team or anything, but you just wonder if is there anybody in that building that can tell him no? Like, does it just me, Joe, or does it feel like Aaron Rodgers essentially runs the Jets now? And
he's the second most powerful guy in the organization,
right? And in some ways, I don't know. Like, would he even stand up to him if he said, "Hey, I know the doctors are saying no, but I'm coming back," and that's that. That concerns me. Does he have anybody in the building that could really stop him if he sets his mind to doing something that's unprecedented?
Could Rodgers start by telling him to rip up the turf at MetLife and put grass in? That'd be great if he could do that, because if I have to watch one more person get hurt, every time Garrett Wilson goes in and out of a break, I have a heart attack right now, and I'm glad Wilson spoke up about that because it's literal insanity between the Jets and Giants, and they cannot fix this by now. I feel like between that and the officiating, which we don't have to go down that rabbit hole, I've been doing a lot of grumbling on that stuff. Let's talk about something more positive.
But, Joe, one thing, since you brought up the stadium, I just got to say it because it drives me crazy. I've been lucky through my job to go to all the Super Bowls in the last decade or so, and because the way it works, we see all the new stadiums because that's part of the deal when you get a stadium built. They're all beautiful. They're all architectural marvels. I was just in London for the Ravens-Titans game and Tottenham Hotspur's stadium. It's beautiful. And then we got this goddamn, I'm sorry for cursing, sardine can with bad turf. Why aren't we on the west side on a beautiful grass turf with the Hudson behind us?
You could have took the ferry into the stadium with the view of the city. And
that was a
listen,
mistake.
I'm from North Jersey. It is literally in the swamps of Jersey. It's an ugly building. Again, I was there week one. I'll probably be back there for the Jets-Giants game. It is probably the worst playing surface in the league. And aesthetically from the outside, it is like horrific. You get the American Dream Mall, and you get like a lot of highways and Route 3, and it's not the best. But on the other side, I feel like I've been dying on the hill that this defense is way better than they even get credit for. Like, they are